Death da, how we knacking? Welcome to podcast number 190. Well, I hope you're all well. Firstly, tonight I will do my usual run through this last week, and then there's a few odds and ends I want to talk about. There's no interview this week. I was hoping to get the first bit done, but we've been manic, absolutely manic. Whereas next week, tis completely the opposite. We're so quiet next week. It's weird, really. It's just the way it goes. And like I've said before, whenever we're quiet, all of Cornwall's quiet. And then we all go busy together. And in fact, I think it's nationwide, to be honest. So there we are. But a few funerals we've done. I'll just talk about a few since I spoke to you last. Obviously, we had Bill's funeral last week. You would have seen that on our Facebook and website. And that was at our chapel. A lovely service, lovely turnout again. Bill and his family, known him for such a long time, and say all was well there. Into the weekend, fairly quiet weekend really work-wise. I did do paperwork, a couple of half days sort of thing. I was on call, so I did have a call out, and then we saw all the grandchildren as well, which was brilliant. So yeah, it wasn't too bad, but then right into this week. And honestly, they're just in enough hours in the day, really. We've had quite a few this week of the early morning, the 8:30s again, the direct funerals there at the crematorium, and also quite a few interment of ashes, including today, actually. We had two memorial services, both at Indelian, and both where the funeral had taken place elsewhere. One up country, one in America. So that was today. But I mean, other funerals we've done this week. One was John's funeral at Blisland on Monday. And John, I remember him well, spent many hours in Blisland Church with him when he used to be the organist there. And it was sad to see poor John passed away, but the church was full again. We had even the chairs up in the lady chapel and everything, and it was a really good turnout, and I'm sure that he would have appreciated it. And then Andrew's funeral as well this week was another one we'd had. Andrew, I remember his mother and that used to do all the cream teas and that just on the way down to Gut down there, on the way to Rocks and Mimberway, like, you know. So again, there was a wonderful crowd there. Judith's funeral in Padstow. I thought actually I should have done some photos, because I haven't really done many photos lately of inside of churches. I did do Blisland, but I haven't put it up yet. But we had a lovely service for Judith, Padstow Church as well. Lovely turnout, which was good. And with a lot more funerals these days, it was actually live streamed. Now, this is something that has become more popular since COVID. The crematoriums, I mean, they're geared up for it all the time because the equipment's there and all you got to do is ring up. They do charge a fee. The company through the crematorium, they do charge a fee. But what they'll do then, they send the link to the family, and then quite often the family will then share the link to whoever they want to watch it. Or sometimes they will say that they just put it public on our RJ Bray Facebook page or something, so anybody can watch it. And say it goes live on the day, and then after that, the company actually takes it down for about 48 hours. Well, they perhaps just tweak it, edit it a bit, and then it goes up again for another 28 days. So that's something, it's one of the few good things I say that really came out of COVID. So, of course, we got that. Well, then a lot of people now, when we have church services, and I must admit, church services have definitely increased over the last 6 months or so. So we get that live streamed as well, usually with our mate Chris and Karen, and they will set up their gear. I mean, they've got different camera angles and everything. Of course, it's more expensive because he's got to go to the church an hour or two before, settle the gear up, so it's not like it's there all the time. If there's good Wi-Fi, he can actually play it live, so that people can watch it live. But if the Wi-Fi's not too good, which in a lot of churches, then what he'll do, he'll film it, then he'll go back to his house, perhaps edit it a bit, and then send us the link. We send it to the family, and again, they send it to wherever they want it to go. I remember when Chris did Father's funeral, that was back in the early days, because we was just coming out of COVID then. And like with Father's funeral, we was allowed 100 people in church. So like I might have said it before, we had 100 people in church, we had people stood outside, we had the PA system so they could hear. There were others that were stood along the roadside, and we did put it out that it was also live on the internet. Now, the trouble is at Eglosale, the Wi-Fi was okay, but it dropped out during the first hymn, and then also it cut out the first bit of my eulogy. And it was fine because Chris recorded it anyway, so later we was able to put up the full service. But after that experience, we do say to families that perhaps that's the safer way to do it. Because then you know that the people watching will see all of it. So, yeah, Chris was with us Monday and Tuesday, actually live streaming it. Or not live streaming it, recording it and uploading it later. I think he might have actually had strong enough signal in Padstow. I'm not too sure. I think he might have. But there we are. And then also this week, Nigel's funeral was one of the other funerals we had. And then David's as well. Both were the same day. Both with a nice attendance of the golf clubs, different ones, which was good. So that was lovely. Tomorrow, we got a manic day, because tomorrow's Friday, May Day. And I go May Day every year. I go May Day, and I won't be there tomorrow. I'll be leaving. It's one of those days where I leave the office at 9:30 in the morning to go on my first funeral. And then I won't be back in the office, I reckon, till 4:30, 4:45. It's just a manic, really is. I just go from one funeral to the other sort of thing. But as most of you would know, if you listen to this all the time, I always go Padstow quite often, tea time-ish on, when the crowds have gone down a bit. I finish my day of work, and I just love it down there because we got so many friends down there. And I can't go this year because I'll get back to the office, then sort out mother's tea, get home, and then we got to go St. Stephen's because we got a surprise birthday party for our mate. And 70th birthday. I've seen him a few times this week, and 2 or 3 times I nearly said, "Here, see you Friday." But yeah, looking forward to that. But gutted that I won't be down Padstow. For those of you that ain't local, if you Google it, go on YouTube, put in Padstow Hobby Horse, you'll see what I'm talking about. Fantastic. You got the 2 horses, you got the drums, the accordions, all the flags are out, over the streets, the greenery they've put out. Oh, tis a magical day. It really is. And they've got the different music. Obviously, they've got the main song that they play all the way through. But one song that is beautiful, which we have at quite a few funerals for Padstonians, is the Farewell. And that is a very emotional time. And I'm sure tomorrow is going to be just as emotional, if not even more, because we've lost so many true local Padstonians over the last few months. They've gone through a hang of a time, really. And I think tomorrow will be a very emotional thing. So the Farewell is played when the horses, when they put them back in the stables, almost say put them to bed at night sort of thing. And like I say, we have this sung sometimes, or even played on the accordion at the ends of Padstow funerals as we perhaps going out of church or something. So I thought perhaps I'll just read you a verse just to give you an idea of it. But it's a hang of an emotional thing, I tell you. So here it goes. One parting kiss I give thee. I cannot bear to leave thee. I go where duty calls me. I go whate'er befalls me. Farewell, farewell, my own true love. Farewell, farewell, my own true love. So there we go. But yeah, I'll be thinking of all me mates down there tomorrow. I mean, to Padstonians, May Day's bigger than Christmas. 'Tis when everybody comes home if they can, family, friends, you meet up again, and 'tis a fantastic occasion, it really is. So there we are. What I'm going to try and do now, I was sent quite a while ago now, and I don't know where they came from, recordings of workers on the old railway. For those of you that don't know, the railway line used to come right down from Bodmin through Wadebridge down to Padstow. And if you've heard some of my old podcasts, you will have heard some of the people there talking about when they used to like travel from Padstow all the way up on the train to Bodmin Grammar School and doing their own work in the coaches and everything there. And I say, I don't know who sent them to me, but I've got 3 recordings of men working, talking about their working on the railways, and I thought I'd play them now. Now, the first one, I don't know who 'tis, but 'tis Broody, that he's talking, I think in all of them, they kind of talking, and then you kind of got in the background the train noises. I don't know if they're recording it while the trains are going past, I don't know, birds singing. But the first one, 'tis interesting to me because, like I might have mentioned before, me gran and me granddad lived at Outlands, which is, well, going about a mile up the line from Dunmere if you're going up to Elland. And that wasn't actually a passenger train, that was for the China Clay. And of course, there was no way to get there by car then. There is now, they've actually made a little lane down through the woods. You can get there by car. But back when my grandparents and my mother and my Uncle Ken lived there, you had to walk up the side of the track. And you might remember me saying that if me nan was laden down with her shopping and she'd be walking up by the track, if the train was coming along, he'd actually stop and let her get up in the engine bit there and take her and stop and drop her off at her front door, which was brilliant. And then another thing I might have mentioned before, my Uncle Ken was notorious for being late to the train. So he'd have to get down from Outlands down to Dunmere, and the train, they knew that he was going to be late, and they'd wait for him. Well, you don't get that these days, do you? They'd actually wait for him to come along and get on the train and go whichever way he was heading. So this first one, I say it is interesting to me because he's talking about going up past Outlands. So I'll play that one first now. I'm hoping the quality will be all right. It is like I did on me last week when we were singing I.O. Silver Lining. I'm just going to put my microphone up to the speaker. So it might not be the best quality, but I just love listening to his voice. So here it is.
Or what have you. They would have to walk forward, you see, and stop the traffic on the road with red flag, both sides. And we would cross. Then you'd have to stop again, you see, and either shunt, what they were always called wharfs, the sidings. And they were always locked, obviously. And you would either shunt, if something wanted to be in on the wharf at Dunmere, you would do that. If you've done that, then you would saunter away up and you'd go up through what we used to call the tightest curves were Outlands. You would go up through a very reverse curve.
Now, isn't that lovely to hear his voice? I mean, if anybody's listening and they know who that is, if they can let me know, I will mention his name. But where he's talking about is down the bottom of Dunmere. So for anyone that's pretty local, if you're coming out of Bodmin and you're going down the hill towards Wadebridge and you've got the Borough Arms pub there on the left-hand side, just a little bit further down, you can actually see where the railway line was. And in fact, some people do get caught out these days, especially holiday makers, if they're coming down towing a caravan, because you've got that little, not a hump in the road, but it kind of, you're going down then flat, then a dip again. And caravans have become unhitched there before. But it's lovely to hear that, the men on the train would have to jump out and physically walk and then push the gates across the road to let the train go across and then push the gates back again. But I thought that was brilliant. The next bit I'm going to do, the next little bit of interview, is with our old mate, Johnny Farrett. Now, John, if you troll back, he did do 2, maybe 3 episodes with me. Lovely man, fantastic bloke. And he's still going strong. I think he's 99 this year. And his wife, Pat, I think she's 101 now, if I'm right. I'm sure she was 101 a week or 2 ago. And they're still living at home together. Obviously, the family and friends and that pop in to see him. But isn't that brilliant? Johnny's nearly 100 himself, Pat's 101, and they're still living home together. So I'll now put on this. This is John talking about his memories. He was based here at Wadebridge, but talking about times gone by.
1961, John Ferret was a driver based at Wadebridge Shed. Here he describes working a train to Bodmin.
Well, when you ran into Bodmin North and you ran in, of course you got to run around, haven't you? And the signalman got to walk down the signal board to alter it. When you left here in the morning at 9:45, I think it was, we used to leave then. When you went into Bodmin, you didn't leave Bodmin until 11:20, and you were expected to shunt up there. You would run around your coaches, always 2 coaches as a rule. Put on an extra one for the school kids, but you'd have shunting to do there, because they had animal feeds up there, petrol. They had a petrol dump, the station there, or dump, petrol dump. And you would marshal those wagons out. So we'd leave at 11:20, come back through, stopping at changing tokens at Boscar and stopping at Nance and Grogley Holt, and then into Weybridge. So then we used to go, leave our coaches there in the loop. We used to run in the loop. Oh no, come to Shed, coal, and perhaps go and clean the smoke box or something like that. And never used to clean the fire then. They used to come to Shed in the afternoon, clean the fire, because he'd be out till 10:30 at night.
Well, there we are. Dear old Johnny. Too lovely to hear his voice again. And in fact, Fred, his boy, he still works with us now. He's actually off at the minute because he's just had a new hip. And 'tis his 3rd new hip. So I'm hoping he might be home today, I think. But yeah, hip number 3. We're starting to call him Jake now at work, because I think he's the only person I've known apart from Rolf Harris to have 3 hips. But I hope you get well soon, Fred, and back on with us before long. Now, the 3rd bit I'm going to play, now this is a Mr. Pryor, and I'm sure 'tis Neil Pryor that is talking in this 3rd interview. And I went to school with Graham, his boy, right the way through. We went girls' school, boys' school, comp. And there's a lovely story in this. It really makes me smile. So I'm now going to put on Neil. I'm sure 'tis him. And then you have a listen to this. 'Tis a booty.
And he would put that, he would sort out some for the goods shed, obviously. Some to be offloaded in Wadebridge Yard. And then the rest would generally go down onto the quay. And on one occasion, we were so pressed there that the signalman was shouting to us to get in clear because he was waiting for the Atlantic coast to come leave Padstow. And we were pushing. We had to push and push and to squeeze the buffers up. And just as the signalman threw the points, the loco slipped and the buffers pushed it back and caught on the catch point, and we had two of the drivers of the BT tank off the rails. Now, this caused a little bit of panic, but fortunately, the points had gone over and the Atlantic Coast Express wasn't delayed. That one came up. So I had to go up now to the station master's house and knock on his door and explain what had happened. Oh my gosh, he says, and off we go. He strides down and I'm trying to keep up with him. He gets down, he had the locomotive foreman there, the permanent way inspector. We found that there were 3 cast iron rail chairs broken, and that seemed to be the only damage. The locomotive foreman said, well, I don't think we need to push this any further. And the permanent way inspector said, well, I can cover this. And so nothing was said. It was all kept quiet. But about a month later, I was doing a guard duty on the North Cornwall line. And I don't remember just which train it was now. But I was working back down from Howell Junction, and on board was Mr. Frank Spillard. And he was the division officer from Exeter. And as I was going along the corridors, he said, I believe you're Relief Porter Pryor, aren't you? I said, yes, that's right, Mr. Spillard. He said, they almost did a very good job of covering up on the quay down there, didn't they? I said, oh, you've heard about it. Oh, I hear about everything, he said.
Right, so I think for my Cornish word of the week, following on from that really, I think I'll go for the Cornish word for train, which is tren. Tren, T-R-E-N. Now, for my Cornish dialect of the week, another beauty from Steve Burrows. Another one that I hadn't heard before. And this goes like this. And it's somebody, I take it, if they got a big head kind of thing. He says, they got a great head on 'un like a buzzer. They got a great head on 'un like a busser. And busser is B-U-S-S-A. And I'd said to him, he asked me, he said, do you know what a busser is? I said, I haven't got a clue. And a busser is a big earthenware bowl that's used to mix up pastry and dough and everything for bread and that sort of thing. So if somebody got a big head kind of thing, he got a great head on 'un like a busser. There we are. Right, well, that's it for this week. I got to get this episode sorted tonight because, like I said earlier, tomorrow evening we're going to a surprise 70th birthday party for me mate Al out at the Queen's Head at St. Stephen's. So by the time you hear this, it would have already happened. So Al, happy birthday, mate. I hope you had a good evening last night, which is tomorrow night as I'm recording it. And then I'll speak to all the rest of you next week. So have a good week. Wish you well. Do Guinness. Cernobis Vican.